The events take place in a remote rural area of Scotland. Adam Elliott and Grace Douglas, who had grown up on neighboring farms since childhood, had been in love for as long as they could remember. They even enrolled at the same university. Adam's parents, along with his sister Claire and brother Rob, drove him there and said their goodbyes. Soon the young couple got married. By that time Grace was already pregnant. They were happier than ever and couldn't have known that their honeymoon would turn into a nightmare. Someone cold-bloodedly took the lives of both Grace and Adam. But that's not the only disaster. A powerful cyclone is approaching Scotland, and many people may lose their homes. The Douglases are driving home from church, Bill, Moira and their son Jamie. Bill criticizes Jamie's taste in music, saying that modern songs have nothing to do with real art. When the family returns, they see a police car outside their house. Local officer Charlie Fuller regretfully informs them that someone broke into Grace and Adam's apartment in Edinburgh last night and took their lives. The couple refuses to believe it. Charlie says the bodies need to be identified, but it would be better if someone else in the family did it. Not every parent can handle that. But Bill knows it's his duty, because Grace was his daughter. Meanwhile Louise Elliott, Adam's mother, is out hunting in the woods. Charlie drives there personally to tell her what happened. But Louise, like the others, refuses to believe it, not understanding why Charlie would say such terrible things. At the same time Lee Walsh, his hands still shaking, recalls the events of the previous night. He was the one who broke into Grace and Adam's apartment with a knife. But what for? Among the stolen items, he finds their wedding photo. Furious, Lee tears it to pieces. Claire, Adam's sister who is studying medicine, still doesn't know what happened. She believes her brother and his wife returned from their honeymoon yesterday and are preparing for the birth of their child. In addition to her studies, Claire works part-time at a nursing home. One of her patients, Meredith, gives her a beautiful spider-shaped brooch. It once belonged to Meredith's grandmother, and now she wants the family heirloom to be in safe hands. The elderly woman, suffering from a terminal illness, asks Claire to get her a pill that would let her fall asleep and never wake up. That way all of Meredith's suffering would end quickly and painlessly. But Claire can't do it. It's illegal. Adam's brother Rob doubts whether his girlfriend Anna should return to work so soon after everything she's been through. But Anna doesn't want to shut herself away, knowing that life must go on. Rob is glad to hear that and supports her. Only he's not going to work, instead he's following someone. Soon Rob gets a call from Claire, who through tears tells him that Adam and Grace are dead. Claire breaks down sobbing. Their brother had his whole life ahead of him, and now it's been brutally cut short. Both families are devastated by the tragedy. Who could have wanted harm for the young couple whose life had only just begun? 2 bodies lie in the morgue. Rob comes in for identification, but he just can't bring himself to look. Meanwhile, Lee Walsh tries to sell the laptops, jewelry and other items stolen from Grace and Adam's apartment. He'll do anything for a fix. He also needs money for a ticket to leave the country as soon as possible. But it's not that easy. Finding a buyer takes time. In the next scene, a woman named Juliet sells a sizable batch of substances to her old acquaintance, Jay. She needs the money, she's desperate. Moira Douglas and Louise Elliott sit in silence, still unable to recover from the shock. The women used to argue often, but that no longer matters. Late at night Lee Walsh, suffering from withdrawal, attacks a passerby and steals the keys to his Lexus and his wallet. Then Lee drives away in a rush. Claire and Rob arrive at their childhood home as soon as they can. Claire had tried calling their father several times, but kept reaching voicemail. It would have been better if he heard everything from them rather than the news. Louise is adamantly against her ex-husband coming. She doesn't even want to see him. Rob and Claire worry their mother might relapse into drinking. Louise insists she's keeping it together. Claire keeps getting messages from her online friend, Sam. She's told him what happened. Claire has no idea that Jamie has access to her account and sees every message she sends to Sam. Jamie is interrupted by his mother, calling him downstairs for dinner. Not that anyone really feels like eating. Moira keeps wondering what the motive could be. She never liked Adam, he was a headstrong man. Moira seriously believes he ruined Grace's life. Someone broke into their home, and maybe it wasn't random. What if Adam got involved in something? Alistair, a worker on the Douglases' farm and a family friend, comes by the house. He wants to make sure all the doors are locked before the storm hits. Bill insists that Alistair stay with them through the storm. Driving in this weather is too dangerous. But that doesn't stop Lee Walsh. With visibility near zero due to heavy rain, a crash becomes inevitable. The sound of the overturned car draws the attention of the Elliots, and they rush to the scene. They pull Lee from the vehicle, unaware that the man before them is the one who brutally took Adam and Grace's lives. Having built an improvised stretcher, the Elliots carry the injured guy into the house together. Louise calls an ambulance, but due to the storm, it could take several hours. The roads are flooded everywhere. Lee is in very bad shape, so there's no time to waste. Claire asks her brother to go to the Douglases, they're sure to have some medicine. Despite the intensifying storm, Rob runs to the farm with a flashlight in hand and tells the Douglases about the accident. Meanwhile, back at the Elliott's house, Lee regains consciousness. While Claire is giving him first aid, Louise notices something that worries her and asks her daughter to speak privately. Louise is puzzled as to why this man has an envelope with their postal code. That means he was heading either to them or to the Douglases. The code is the same. One way or another, he's not here by accident. Rob receives all the necessary medicine from Bill and suddenly sees on the news that the police are looking for a homeless man named Lee Walsh. Realizing it's the same man currently in his mother's house, Rob rushes back. Louise, Claire and Anna assume the man might be someone the Douglases know, although that seems unlikely given that he was found in a Lexus. While the women are deciding what to do, Lee, despite a compound fracture in his leg, tries to escape, but Rob catches him and starts beating him. Claire pulls her brother away from Lee, shouting for him to stop. Bill, Moira and Alistair arrive, declaring that this man is the prime suspect in the murders of Grace and Adam, at least according to the news. The question is, what is he doing here now? Claire asks Rob to call the police, even though it's obvious that in this weather, they won't arrive before the ambulance. Now the man who destroyed their lives is in their hands. Instead of calling the police, Rob calls the ambulance and cancels the request, saying that the person needing medical attention is now fine. To the others who dragged Lee back into the house, Rob lies, saying both the ambulance and the police are on their way, just delayed. Now the two families must decide what to do. None of them have seen Lee before and have no idea how he got their address. Since there's a risk Lee will try to escape again, Rob suggests locking him in a dog cage. Bill has plenty of them at the farm. Bill agrees with the idea, and together they carry unconscious Lee to the farm. Claire is against violence. After all, they don't know for sure whether Lee is guilty. But when Claire sees the engraved watch he's wearing, the one Grace gave Adam for his 21st birthday, she bursts into tears. There's no doubt now, it was Lee. Everyone gathers in the living room, where silence settles over them. Rob steps away to the bathroom, unable to deal with the rage boiling inside him. Anna hears the sound of things being smashed and asks if he's okay. Rob tells her to leave him alone. Everyone retires to their rooms. A long rainy night lies ahead. Unable to cope, Louise, for the first time in a long while, turns to alcohol for comfort. Through the glass window in the door, she sees someone heading toward the barn, but makes no attempt to stop them. Seeing the hooded figure above him, Lee begs for help. Juliet is caring for her gravely ill daughter, Maddie. At last Juliet has saved up enough money for the surgery, and believes that soon she and Maddie will be able to return to a normal life. In the morning the storm subsides, and an ominous silence falls over the farm. Claire wakes up in the Douglases' living room. The events of the previous night seem like a terrible dream, but sadly they are real. Claire goes to the barn to check if Lee is still alive, but what she sees there horrifies her. Panicking, she runs back to the Douglases' house. Someone took Lee's life during the night, just as mercilessly as he had done with Adam and Grace. It's obvious it was someone present. Now that the storm has passed, the police should arrive any minute. At that moment Rob confesses that he never called the police, and the ambulance isn't coming either. Louise recalls seeing someone heading toward the barn during the night, but it wasn't Rob. Still, Moira is convinced he did it, shouting that Rob is just as rotten as his brother. Everyone starts arguing, throwing blame at one another. Only Anna walks away, stunned and in shock. She can't bring herself to trust Rob, not after learning he's been secretly watching Graham Harris, the man who assaulted her some time ago and forced her into something she didn't want. Alistair tells Moira and Bill that he saw Jamie enter the barn during the night. He meanwhile is scrolling through Claire's social media photos, obsessed with her. He is interrupted by his parents, demanding to know if he was the one who took Lee's life. Jamie admits he was in the barn, but only to look at Lee. However, his parents don't believe him, trying to figure out what they're all supposed to do now. Inspector Juliet Wallace and her partner, Sergeant Andrew Barker, are handling the case of Adam and Grace's deaths. Soon they manage to locate the car Lee stole. Juliet intends to contact the local officer, Charles Fuller. The Douglases and the Elliots decide not to call the police. Their families have already suffered enough and don't deserve to have their lives destroyed even further because of the man who took Adam and Grace away from them. Claire is the only one who disagrees. Lee's face is all over the news, and the police are searching for him. The argument is interrupted when Jamie hands his father the phone. The police are calling. Charles Fuller tells Bill that a detective is on the way from Edinburgh. Now both families must decide what to do. Peter Elliott, Adam's father, has long had a new family and a new life. When he listens to a voicemail from Claire, sent 16 hours ago, he shows no reaction. Inspector Wallace is already en route to the farm, while Claire pleads for the person responsible for Lee's death to confess. But the others don't share her view. It won't change anything now, and that person has already caused them so much pain. They feel it's up to them to handle it. Their argument is cut short by the arrival of the press. Rob aggressively demands they turn off their cameras. A journalist introduces herself as Monica Grant, saying she just wants to give the families a chance to tell their story. But no one is willing to give interviews, and they drive her off. Now they must decide what happens next. Helicopters are sweeping the area. Police confirm that Lee Walsh stole a Lexus the previous night and was apparently headed for Bristol. Wallace is now concerned for the family's safety. It's also known that Lee has a mental disorder, paranoid schizophrenia. After the car theft, he vanished, and the inspector wants to speak to the Elliots and the Douglases as soon as possible. At that moment, Bill covers Lee's body with a cloth, while Rob and Louise throw a tarp over the overturned Lexus. Unlike Claire, Anna is convinced they did the right thing, because she trusts Rob. She also believes that Lee Walsh got what he deserved. Members of both families work together to cover up the evidence of the crash. Inspector Wallace and Sergeant Barker are already near. When the Elliots and the Douglases hear the sound of an approaching vehicle, they rush back into their homes. The detectives enter the Elliott house first. Louise insists they've been inside all morning. The officers show them a photo of Lee Walsh. They deny knowing him. Rob only wants to know the motive. Why did Lee Walsh do this? At the moment, the police's leading theory is robbery. Lee Walsh was homeless, had substance issues and a mental disorder. It's possible he crossed paths with the couple somewhere and followed them afterward. Grace was known for her charity work and often volunteered at soup kitchens for the homeless. The detectives explain that Lee was likely headed in this direction. The last surveillance footage showed him at a gas station en route to Bristol. The police plan to place the Elliots and the Douglases under round-the-clock protection, believing Lee may have had hostile intentions toward them. When Detective Wallace asks if Adam and Grace had been acting strangely lately, Louise breaks down and walks outside in tears. She can't understand what Grace, who fed the homeless, could have done to deserve this. Grace always tried to save everyone. If the detectives are right, and Lee really was coming here to harm them, then they did the right thing. Louise is certain of it. At that moment, Claire, horrified, asks her mother whether it was she who went into the barn that night. Louise neither confirms nor denies it, telling her daughter that if she wants to tell the detectives the truth, no one is stopping her. And Claire was almost ready to speak up, but at the last moment she changes her mind. Neither the family nor the police have yet been able to reach Peter Elliott. As Claire drives out of Bristol to go to work, she's surrounded by reporters, but she simply drives past them. At one point she stops the car and leaves a voicemail for Adam, telling him how much they all miss him. Despite his years of experience, Sergeant Barker has never grown used to the atmosphere of grief, something he shares with Juliet, who at that moment receives a call from Jay. He needs more product, the last batch is already gone. Realizing what this could lead to, Juliet tells him that was the first and last time, and warns Jay never to call this number again. Moira's nerves are starting to fray. She's afraid the police will focus on Jamie first, because once he brought a shotgun to school. Jamie denies ever hurting Lee. Upset, Moira walks into another room. Bill reminds his son that he promised to keep something just between them. Jay hands a guy nicknamed Dan an old burner phone, the kind dealers use so the cops can't track them. Alistair confesses to his wife Sal that something happened last night, and she deserves to know. Claire starts her shift at work, hoping it might distract her. Meredith says there's no meaning in death, especially not one so brutal. Claire can't hold back and bursts into tears. All Sal wants to know is whether it was Alistair who ended Lee Walsh's life. As a former soldier, he's capable of it. But Alistair assures her it wasn't him. Sal tells him that now he needs to do something, if he has the courage. Inspector Wallace keeps a close eye on the farm. Both families meet to discuss the police visit. Whoever it was that ended Lee's life, they've all already lied, so now they need to finish what they started and get rid of the body. But how, if the cops promise to increase patrols? And what about the Lexus? Rob has an idea, and he and Bill head to the barn. Then they load the body into the trunk of the car, where Moira is already waiting behind the wheel. Anna keeps watch on the police patrol at the farm's entrance using binoculars. With the help of his excavator, Bill digs a deep pit. Peter's new wife, Leah, finds him crying and asks what's wrong. He admits that before her, he had another family, a wife and 3 children. Then he had a breakdown and they moved to Scotland, but things never got better. So Peter just left and started a new life. Now his son Adam is dead. Leah is in total shock, not knowing how to respond. Meanwhile, Bill, Douglas and Moira bury the Lexus along with the body. It's done. Ed meets a client in an underpass and sells him substances. Then the guy Craig returns home to his sister Jenny and says he's going on a hiking trip with friends. Jenny wants to go too, but he tells her it's not for her. When Claire returns to the farm, she sees Jamie standing in the middle of the road and stops. He says he just wanted to walk in silence. They both miss the people they lost forever. Grace was like a sister to Claire. Jamie in tears says his parents think he did it. He really did go to the barn, but only to look Lee in the eyes. Claire hugs him, trying to calm him down. But when Jamie tries to kiss her, she decides it's best to leave. Claire is unpleasantly surprised to learn that Rob and Anna are planning to leave right away. Rob also tells her that they've already disposed of the car and the body. He's convinced they did the right thing, because the police can't be trusted. Otherwise, why would the man who assaulted Anna still be walking free? Louise supports her son, unwilling to let them or the Douglases end up in prison. In the end, Rob and Anna leave. Claire still can't stop wondering how Lee got their postal code. The police still haven't managed to reach Peter, who currently lives in London. But they did obtain phone records from the hotel in Spain where the newlyweds had stayed. It's strange they made calls to Adam's father, considering Claire said none of them spoke to him. Meanwhile, Peter is drinking whiskey and listening to Adam's last voicemail. Adam had wanted to talk and asked him to call back as soon as possible. Unable to stand it, Peter decides to drive to Bristol immediately. Louise re-watches Adam and Grace's wedding video. Now memories are all they have left. Claire receives a message from Sam, unaware that Jamie has access to all her messages. Everyone grieves in their own way. While her husband isn't looking, Moira pulls out a few letters from a box and burns them. She has something to hide. Unable to sleep, Louise starts cleaning in the middle of the night. Suddenly she finds a knife in the fireplace. In the morning, Alistair comes to the Douglases' farm and says that he and Sal are having financial problems, especially after the storm. Alistair hints to Bill that he wants compensation in exchange for his silence. Bill realizes it's blackmail, and though he never expected that from someone after so many years of loyal friendship, he's not in a position to refuse. During the hiking trip, Craig notices that some of his stash is missing and realizes his sister stole it. At that very moment, Jenny's starting to hallucinate and jumps off a balcony. Juliet tells her daughter that soon they'll be going to India, where she'll have the surgery. Yuki, the caregiver, helps Juliet take care of Maddie. When Juliet sees Monica Grant's article in the newspaper and the photo of the Elliots and Douglases, she realizes they lied when they said they hadn't been outside all morning. Juliet shares her suspicions with Andrew. Perhaps the Elliots and Douglases have something to hide. Claire asks Meredith if she's ever done something bad that she later regretted. Meredith doesn't understand the question. Claire replies that it's just a passing thought, and after work she returns to the farm. She can't keep it a secret any longer and plans to go to the police. Louise shows her daughter the knife she found in the fireplace in Rob's room the night before. Now Claire has to decide what to do. That same day the police come to see Rob, but not about Lee Walsh. Rob struggles to keep himself together. With everything his family is going through, prison is the last thing he can risk. Behind her husband's back, Moira meets Alistair at a restaurant in the local hotel. She's there to say it's over between them and that she burned his letters. After Grace's death, Moira began to think more about her own family. Peter finally musters the courage to call Claire. She doesn't want to hear any excuses from him after he disappeared from their lives. They've learned to manage without him, and Claire advises her father to turn around and go home. Peter only says that it's all his fault, and hangs up. At work, Juliet receives a call from her distressed daughter and immediately rushes home. Maddie says her school friend Jenny has died. When Juliet realizes what caused it all, she can barely maintain her composure. Peter leaves a final voicemail for his daughter, once again saying how sorry he is. Then he throws himself in front of a car. Meanwhile, Claire sinks the knife into a mountain lake. 4 days later, Rob and Anna return. Claire blames herself for what happened to their father, but Rob assures her it wasn't her fault. Their father was selfish. When they get a chance to talk alone, Claire tells him about the knife. In exchange for her help covering up the crime, she now wants the truth. But Rob insists he had nothing to do with it and didn't hide anything in his room. Juliet can't stop thinking about what happened to Jenny, and Andrew notices. The detectives come to the Elliott house again to inform Louise that the police will be present at Adam and Grace's funeral in case Lee Walsh shows up. Inspector Wallace also mentions that shortly before his death, Adam called his father. Louise says that if any of them would have given Peter a second chance, it would have been Adam. When the inspector asks why Louise previously claimed that none of them left the house the morning after the tragedy, when the photo in the paper says otherwise, she answers that they were all in shock and barely remember what they did. Considering what they've been through, it sounds believable. Inspector Wallace also asks about the car that was under the tarp and where it went. Louise says it was Rob's old car, and that he scrapped it. Only after the detectives finally leave does Louise lose control and urgently calls the Douglases, but Jamie, the only one home, doesn't hear the phone because he's busy reading Claire and Sam's messages. He hears the call too late. Meanwhile, the detectives question Bill about that day. Jamie tries to step in, but his father tells him to go back inside. When asked, Bill says that they and the Elliots went out for a walk that morning, contradicting Louise's statement. Later, Juliet shares her theory with Andrew, that Lee Walsh did make it here after all. What would people do if the man who took their children's lives showed up on their doorstep? The answer is obvious. The funeral is tomorrow, so soon it will all be over, or maybe not. Rob feels that Anna is hiding something and asks her directly if she's the one who hid the knife in the fireplace. She was the only one in the room with him. Anna can't believe Rob actually suspects her, and walks out in silence. Bill urges Louise to stay calm. The police may be suspicious, but that's not enough to get a search warrant. Their conversation is interrupted by Alistair, who asks Bill for a word. Alistair says he wants more money. But Bill refuses to pay him any more. He knows Alistair is in the same boat as they are. He had more than one chance to tell the cops the truth, but he stayed silent, making him an accomplice. While taking Meredith out for some fresh air in her wheelchair, Claire tells her about Sam, her online friend. Meredith senses something is bothering the girl and suggests she talk to Sam about it. That's the only way she'll feel any better. Juliet tries to piece everything together, still wondering what Lee Walsh's motive could have been. Andrew says sometimes people do strange and reckless things. Not every action needs a reason. Claire re-watches Adam and Grace's wedding video, unable to hold back tears. Then she decides to unburden herself and sends a message to Sam, not knowing that Jamie is reading their conversation. Rob walks in and says he just spoke with Leah, their father's new wife, and that she actually seemed quite nice. Claire suggests their father might have known something about what happened. Adam did call him shortly before the tragedy after all. Rob asks his sister to stop. If they keep thinking about it, they'll go insane. Today is the funeral, and both families must get through it, no matter how hard it is. None of them have truly come to terms with the loss. When Ant sees the police cars, he takes off running. The officers give chase. Ant makes it onto a rooftop and calls Jay in a panic. Jay assures him they'll release him, but he needs to keep his mouth shut. First and foremost, he must get rid of the phone. Jay then shows up at Juliet's house, which makes her nervous. Jay says his dealer has been arrested, and it's only a matter of time before he starts talking. Jay hints that it's in Juliet's best interest to make sure Ant gets released, because Juliet is indirectly responsible for the death of one of the client's sisters. That same day, Jamie sends the police a screenshot of Claire's messages with Sam. It's more than enough for a warrant. After the funeral, everyone gathers for the wake. Despite everything, Alistair and Sal come to honor the memory of Grace and Adam. Bill tells Alistair he no longer need to come into work. Meanwhile, the police search the Elliott house while no one is home. Rob and Claire share a smoke. Rob assures his sister he didn't hide the knife in the fireplace. Maybe it was Anna. Lately he barely recognizes her, as if she's already somewhere far away. Jamie tells his mother he's tired of all the lies in their family. It turns out Bill was recently diagnosed with Parkinson's, but he didn't tell his wife, only the children. Jamie also confesses that he turned Rob into the police. Hearing this, Moira can't understand how her son could be so foolish. At that moment, police search the area around the farm, and the sniffer dogs lead them to Lee Walsh's body and the stolen Lexus. The detectives show up at the wake and ask the Elliots and Douglases to come with them to the station immediately. At first they pretend not to understand, so the detectives clarify, it's about Lee Walsh, and there's no need to pretend anymore. At the station they are interrogated one by one. They recount the events of that night in detail, the crash, how Lee Walsh ended up in the Elliots' house, how they saw him on the news and locked him in the barn. Alistair is questioned too. The detectives ask Rob what his sister meant when she messaged Sam that her brother had done something terrible. Rob asks for a lawyer, but the detectives calmly explain that they just want to understand what happened to Adam and Grace. One way or another, they'll get to the truth. At that moment Rob says he's the one who took Lee Walsh's life. Jamie tries to flee the country, but the police are already waiting for him at the station. Juliet tells Claire that her brother confessed to everything. The Elliots and the Douglases will be charged with obstruction of justice. Most likely they'll be released on bail. Through tears Claire says that despite everything, she's glad Lee Walsh is dead. When the Douglases are released on bail, Jamie demands an apology from his parents for suspecting him of taking Lee's life. But Bill tells his son to shut his mouth and never open it again. He put them all at risk and told his mother about the diagnosis at Grace's funeral. Bill didn't want Moira to find out he was dying that way. The Elliots are also released on bail. As they leave the police station, Louise glares at Jamie with hatred. She's already lost one son, and now Rob is in prison. Anna is determined to visit him as soon as possible. Claire, exhausted, replies that it's a good idea. While Louise sleeps at home, wedding video still playing, Claire notices something suspicious in the footage, the part Rob never got around to editing. Bill is arguing with Adam outside the church, then hands the young man something and says he's going to hell. Claire rushes to the Douglases' farm and demands an explanation from Bill. Bill doesn't understand why Claire keeps digging into the past, but she refuses to leave without the truth. Bill reveals that a few weeks before the wedding, he found out Adam had had an affair. Claire doesn't want to believe her brother was capable of that, but Bill warned her the truth wouldn't be pleasant. In the video, Bill handed Adam the marriage certificate to remind him of the vows he had broken. At home, while spending time with her daughter, Juliet receives a call from the police. They tell her that someone named Jay Clark wants to speak with her about the case. Claire finds out from a colleague that Meredith has been stealing pills from other patients. It's painfully obvious why she was doing it. Now the elderly woman only wants to speak to Claire. Meredith says that dying is her personal choice. And in the end, Claire agrees to help her. On the way home, Claire cries, while Anna goes as far as the prison gates, but in the end she changes her mind and doesn't go in. In tears, she walks away. During a face-to-face meeting, Jay tells Juliet that he has audio recordings of all their conversations, so it's in her best interest to get him out as soon as possible. Juliet promises to speak to the dealer and force him to recant his statement. Adam's mail and bills still arrive at Louise's, and among them she and Claire find something suspicious. Shortly before the tragedy at 4 a.m, Adam called Bill Douglas 5 times. But why? When Alistair enters the house, he finds his wife with a packed suitcase. She's known about his affair with Moira for 2 years, but Sal never acted on it because she was afraid of change. But the deaths of Adam and Grace made her realize how short life really is. When Alistair told her what had happened at the farm, Sal saw an opportunity to get money and finally leave him. She already emptied their bank account, leaving him with nothing. She leaves without even taking the suitcase. While the Douglases are at church, Claire sneaks into their house and begins rummaging through Bill's belongings, only to be caught by Jamie, who it turns out didn't go with his parents. Not wanting to explain anything, Claire directly asks how long he's been reading her messages. Jamie in tears says he never meant to, but he couldn't resist once he accidentally found out her password. Jamie also tells her that his father has Parkinson's and that they're all trapped in this web of lies. Claire hugs Jamie, letting him know she doesn't hate him. In return, he gives her his father's phone, exactly what she was looking for. When Claire listens to the voicemails, she's horrified. The Douglases return home and are completely unprepared to see Sal there. She came to speak her mind before disappearing for good. Sal declares that Alistair and Moira have been having an affair for a very long time. She believes Bill has a right to know the truth. But he doesn't want to hear it, and in anger yells at Sal to get out. But the look on Moira's face makes it clear that Sal wasn't lying. Juliet returns to Jay's cell and offers him a new deal. He keeps quiet about her involvement, and in return she won't turn over his flash drive, which contains highly inappropriate content, to the police. Juliet used to work in the cybercrime division, and she's managed to dig up plenty on him. Jay looks scared but doesn't change his terms. Their conversation is interrupted by a guard, who tells Juliet someone is urgently waiting for her at the precinct. Bill wants to know why, and for how long. Moira says she always felt lonely in the marriage. But to Bill, that sounds like a pathetic excuse, especially since he knows Moira had other men, like Peter Elliott. And Moira has kept that secret for 20 years. On the recordings from Bill's phone, which Claire brought to the police, Adam is heard threatening Bill, telling him to stay away from Grace and from him. It's clear that Bill knew Grace wasn't his daughter. But did Peter know the truth? Maybe that's why he left the family? That would mean Adam and Grace were siblings. And it's obvious now that the fight at the wedding wasn't about Adam being unfaithful. Claire thinks this might somehow be connected to the newlyweds' deaths. Inspector Wallace advises Claire to leave it to the police and go back to her family. Claire hands over the envelope that belonged to Lee Walsh, the one with their postal code on it. She has no idea how to tell her brother and mother the truth. After asking Andrew to send the envelope in for forensic testing, Juliet wonders what her next move should be. It's almost 6, the threats didn't work on Jay, and he's ready to talk to the police. Juliet rushes home and tells her daughter they're leaving for India right now. She knows they have very little time. They must catch the plane before Juliet is declared wanted and arrested at the airport. Maddie is scared by how fast everything is happening. The operation wasn't supposed to be for a while. Juliet tries to reassure her daughter, promising that everything will be okay. Andrew reviews the DNA results from the envelope, and what he sees changes everything. He immediately calls Charles Fuller and tells him to get to the Douglases without delay. Claire knows she has to tell her mother the truth. After the difficult conversation, Claire and Louise go to the Douglases' house and demand that Bill explain why he told Adam that he and Grace were brother and sister. Bill yells at them to get out of his house, but at that very moment the police arrive to arrest him on suspicion of conspiracy to commit murder. Fingerprints matching Bill's were found on the envelope Claire discovered in Lee Walsh's possession. No one present can process what they've just heard. Moira begs her husband to say it's a mistake, but he stays silent, only asking Charlie for permission to change clothes. Bill heads upstairs and sees his unsuspecting son playing on the computer. Quietly he begins to cry, then takes a shotgun from the closet and slips out the back door. The others notice and follow him, pleading with him not to do anything stupid. Through tears Bill says that if it hadn't been for his illness, he wouldn't have tested Jamie and Grace, and wouldn't have found out she wasn't his daughter. It had been eating away at him. It was easy enough to get a hair from Adam and send it to the lab too. Bill tried everything to banish the thought from his mind, but he simply couldn't live knowing Adam and Grace were brother and sister, living in sin. He blames Moira for all of it, but Louise says Moira isn't the problem, Bill is. He says he tried to speak to Adam and gave him the envelope with the DNA results, warning that he'd go to hell if he didn't stop. But Adam said it didn't matter, he loved Grace no matter what. Bill couldn't let it continue. When the vagrant Lee Walsh attacked him in the street, Bill in a fit of rage took the knife and pinned him to the wall. At first he meant to let the man go, but then offered him £5,000 for a job. Bill only meant to get rid of Adam, but things went wrong when Grace came home early and witnessed the horror. In the end Lee attacked her too. Lee must have gone through their apartment, found the Douglases' address, and headed there to claim the second half of his payment. After ending Lee's life, Bill planted the knife in the Elliott's house, in Rob's room, to draw suspicion away from himself. Now through tears, Bill says he only wanted to stop what was immoral and wrong. With that, he prepares to pull the trigger. Louise doesn't stop him, she even yells that it would be the first decent thing he's ever done. But in the end Bill doesn't have the courage. He collapses to his knees, sobbing. At the airport Andrew intercepts Juliet. She asks for a minute to say goodbye to her daughter and thanks him for leaving backup outside. To her shock, Andrew tells her he came alone. He lets Juliet go, knowing she only broke the law for the sake of her daughter. At that moment Juliet can't find the words to express how grateful she is. Now Maddie has a chance. Rob is released from prison, and Anna is there to meet him. Rob gave false testimony, thinking he was protecting Anna. She tells him she doesn't need protection anymore. The best thing they can do now is leave the past behind. Claire enters Meredith's room and tells her she can't bring herself to do it. Claire realizes it would be her choice, not Meredith's, and she's the one who would have to live with it. Moira comes to Louise in tears and says she didn't know anything. She can't express how sorry she is. Bill awaits trial in prison, but his days are numbered anyway because of his illness. Meredith tells Claire she understands everything. So, what's the moral of the story? Every action has consequences, and every secret sooner or later comes to light.